Hi, it's Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. Yes, I'm Alison Arngrim, although some of you may recognize me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. But tonight, I'm Alison Arngrim, and it's the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The movies and the TV shows that made us feel good, and the people who made them. And people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And oh, I've got one tonight. So this is a marvelous man that I met a few years ago doing a web series. Yes, he played my husband. Okay, it was a dream sequence. It wasn't like he was really my husband. He was like my husband in a dream sequence flashback, but it was adorable. It was when we did that Life Interrupted thing, and he was the handsome husband, and I was in my 50s years. So this marvelous man, well, he has had quite the career. He does everything. You know, he has a little resume in the back of his book that's just out. And I was reading it, and I said, you know, it's not that long, yet it is the resume apparently of 6 different people that are somehow one guy. Because it's like, oh, yes, actor, LA-based actor and writer, and little modeling and film appearances include Scrooge and Marley's, Ebenezer Scrooge, Spa Night, Joshua Tree, 1951, all these lovely movies, guest starring roles, all the usual things, NCIS, Modern Family, Grey's Anatomy, et cetera, and then diverse stage acting career from Broadway, et cetera. Naked voice singing, his comedy songs most versatile, musical comedy whore, all these lovely. But he also continues to like, wait, now we're doing musical comedy whore. Yes. And he continues his anti-shame, anti-ageism, pro-nudity and sexuality mission with his work in erotic photos. He also helps people unclutter their lives and environment through his personal organization business, Address the Mess. Wait, what? This is all one guy. Yes, this is all one guy, and he is amazing, and his name is David Pevsner.
Hey.
But you're wearing a shirt. Oh, you're dressed. Yes, good. Hi.
Hello. I know. I'm sorry. I'm just exhausted from having listened to you read that. I'm like, oh, that is my life.
So people say, "What are you doing lately?" And I'm like, "You got an hour, you know?" Yeah. Now, of course, it's hilarious. We started right off with that photo, but I think that set the tone. So if anyone's wondering, it's like, and there you are. So yes.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, they did. There was a little underwear shot. It was adorable.
So, oh, hey, well.
So yeah, I read your book. I read your book, Damn Shame. And for those one, yes, that's damn shame, as in damn shame. To hell with it. I was like, well, this should be interesting because I did not know all the things you did. I guess he's in musical comedy. He does this and then I was like, whoa, dude, really? And it was marvelous. Absolutely fascinating because yes, you've had the usual typical LA TV career, but with all this great theater stuff. But you've also really jumped into the anti-ageism, anti-sexism, pro-positive body image world of, yes, hi, no, I'm not 20, and here I am, ta-da. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Now, we met doing a kooky web series called Life Interrupted about an ex-child star. Oh, wait, I'm an ex-child star, but I wasn't the ex-child star in this. It was about Mason Reese, famous for the Underwood deviled ham commercials. And I play his ex-wife, who has now married a woman, played by the gorgeous Erin Murphy from Bewitched, Tabitha and Nellie. Okay, well, so we did this thing, but Mason has dreams of how it all could have been. And there's a fabulous opening, insane flashback dream sequence where I am in full 50s drag with this fabulous curly do and big Lucy red lipstick in this kitchen going, do, I made a roast and a cake. Mason, darling. And you come gliding in a suit, just as dapper and suave as the handsome TV husband. And we have our lovely kissing scene.
We were Donna Reed and Carl Betts.
I mean, we were completely that. Yeah. He's a dear. And then, of course, he wakes up. Poor Mason wakes up and is like, "Oh God, my life is not yet."
I got to be Dream Mason.
You were Dream Mason. Dream Mason. Marvel. Yes, we shot it in a real kitchen, and we had a blast.
We did have a really good time. No, it was great because I got to meet so many of you. You know, people that I watched on TV. You know, for all my life, and it was just peopled with it, you know, with you guys, and it was so much fun meeting everybody and working with everybody. We had a ball.
My mom was played by Dawn Wells, Marianne. Michael Lerner from the Waltons was in it. It was just this fabulous hodgepodge of like all your favorite TV stars jammed
It
into
was
it.
really crazy. I was like, when they offered it to me, I was like, "Are you kidding? I've got to.
Right?
I pay
The
you to
brilliant,
do this, you
the,
know."
the brilliant Stephen Wishnoff cooked up this thing, wrote it. It was so cute. It was so funny. It was so adorable. And so, yes, so you are now in the catalog of people who have played my husband on TV now. Uh, it's on the list of things. I'm reading your book and I came in, okay, you know, she said growing up like Skokie, Illinois, and this nice Jewish boy. And you did Fiddler on the Roof. You were actually in the Broadway revival of Fiddler on the Roof.
I did. That was my first and only Broadway show. I did another tour of a pre-Broadway thing that never went in, but it was so exciting because it was a show that, you know, as a Jewish guy, and I went to see, it was one of the first musicals I saw on tour. My parents took me to see it in Chicago with Luther Adler, and so it always had kind of an effect on me, and I loved the movie with Topol, and then I finally got to do the show with him on tour, and then we played in New York for like 10 months. So it was you know, being on Broadway is a lot of fun, I have to say.
Incredible, marvelous stuff. And then you, of course, are a musical comedy person. That's what you set out to be
Right.
initially and everything. So, and you took part of wonderful musical that I actually saw and wrote songs. You wrote songs for it. I was in Vegas in, oh, it was like right after my book came out. So like 2010, 2011, I was at the Onyx doing my show. My show's Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. You know, I was looking at the titles of your show, and all of your shows are, you know, et cetera, et cetera,
Bam,
sex, et cetera.
whore.
Naked, this, whore, that, dead. And I'm like, no, my show's Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. What can I say? There's a show called Naked Boys Singing. I mean, it is literally that. It is Naked Boys Singing. And they said, well, we're the other show at the theater. You should come see us on your night off. And I did. Now, what struck me about Naked Boys Singing, and it has its classic musical format, except they all are
It's a
naked.
review.
And
It's a review.
it's a review, and there's lots of songs about life and sexuality and growing up and people's responses to sexuality, coming out as gay, and everything in between. But what struck me about it was that it was remarkably innocent. There were some numbers. I said, you know, if these people had clothes on, you could do this like on a cruise ship for grandma. This is like, it was downright cute. And the way they did stuff, even when it was about sex, it was done in a very innocent, sweet kind of way that I was
Yeah.
going, I thought this show would be much dirtier than this. This is like a nice little thing here.
Yeah, no, I mean, anything kind of sexual is kind of covered over with humor in it. So, and they get the nudity out of the way in the very first number, and they're like, "Yep, we're gonna be naked, and what about it? And get over it." And here we are. So it's really a celebration of nudity more than sexuality. You know, just
Exactly.
you know, celebrating your bodies and feeling free in them because you've got these guys up there dancing and singing and, you know, making us laugh naked. I mean,
There was a cute song, the one "Nothing But the Radio On," which is a whole reference to the famous like Marilyn Monroe thing. What did you have on? And
when she
nothing. The
posed for the
radio.
calendar, yeah.
And this guy even sings about nothing but the radio on, and it's like it's not dirty. It's but like nothing but the radio on. I'm naked. And so it's amazing. Now, of course, your song, which I guess yours was almost the dirty one in it,
Pretty
perky
little porn
little
star.
porn.
Well, you know, the thing is that I started writing just for fun. This friend of mine gave me this computer, this like old broken down computer, and I just started writing like poetry, like kind of dirty poetry, but about my fantasies and about my experiences and stuff. And one of the things was my fantasy of being a porn star, and I wrote this kind of funny poem about it, and then I musicalized it, thinking nobody's where is this going to go? Nobody was doing
What are you
anything
going
like
to do
this.
with this? What are you going to put
Right.
it in a show?
But I was coming out of, I did a show called When Pigs Fly in New York, and I was coming out of it, and I saw a friend of mine, and he introduced me to his husband, and his husband asked what else I do, and I'm like, I'm writing some, you know, dirty. He's like, well, he said, well, I have a friend who's doing a show in LA. They're putting a show together, a review. I said, what's the subject matter? He goes, nudity, and I went, are you kidding me? So that was
Finally.
like, it was like, oh my God, this is a marriage made in heaven. So I sent off a few songs and they used them, and then 20 something years later, it's still running. You know, it's crazy.
even the song Perky Little Porn Star, as I said, it's accent on the Perky. There's references to like Deanna Durbin and Tab Hunter. I'm like, this.
Well, the idea, I mean, to get it kind of out of the icky realm, the character who sings the song is an old movie lover. And so now that he's in movies, porn films, he still has that thought about when he was a kid watching old movies on TV. And so this is his way of being a movie star. So there are references to Deanna Durbin and Tab Hunter, and because that's the soul of this kid who ends up doing these, the porn films.
It's still the love of the great Hollywood, the cinema. This is
the cinema.
I'm in the movies of sorts.
Exactly. So yeah, so it was a lot of fun to write, and a lot of it, I always put a lot of me and either my experience or my, head into these songs. Excuse the pun.
Indeed. So yeah, and it's very much. I mean, I think he even says something about I'm from Skokie, Illinois. I mean, it's like very autobiographical, that one.
Yes.
And you talk in your book, Damn Shame, fascinating. It's a lot of it is about growing up in like a very typical American family and then realizing that you're gay and coming out and going, my parents are kind of conservative and what do I do? And that's like everybody's story. Yeah. And you talked about that and that you were such a nice Jewish boy.
That I was.
So you weren't, I mean, this wasn't, the 1930s. It was more modern when you were coming out here, but it was still difficult because, I mean, as you said, you were in Skokie, Illinois, not West Hollywood when this is happening. So how did that work out? You talk about the whole thing of like trying to be the ultimate perfect, good, nice Jewish boy, please your parents, but come out as a gay person. Like, yeah. How did that work?
Well, I talk a lot about watching television, and we've talked about that already a little bit. I watched so much television, and if I didn't see it on TV, it didn't exist in real life. So I never saw two guys together. I never saw two boys kissing each other. So I knew there was something wrong with me. And this is how it was all through high school. I kind of felt that same thing. That's a long time to go, where you're thinking like there's something wrong with you and you're not going to fit in, and you try to fit in and you have girlfriends and so eventually it was moving to even college. I was able to come out, but there was still a lot of like, I'm still not ready. And I mean, I lost my virginity in college, but I wasn't particularly I wasn't very sexual in college as much as I would have liked to have been, as much as everybody else seemed to be. When I got to New York.
And that's the thing in college. It seems like everyone is having sex. And this is something even straight people have. They go, oh, yeah, I didn't even like lose my virginity to my third year in college. And everyone was doing it. And then they get together and they go, what? I thought you were doing it. I wasn't doing it either. And like,
well, but except that I went to, after I went to University of Michigan for a year, then I went to Carnegie Mellon. And Carnegie Mellon, it's all actors, it's all artists. And believe me, they were all screwing around. I know for a fact. Not me, a little bit, but really, I mean, I had my good times, but it was really when I got to New York where I finally felt like I was open. I was going to the bars, but then I got to New York right when AIDS was happening. So we're just starting out. And so there was that was kind of putting a little bit of a hamper on it, but we still had fun. We still were out there. We were still, many of us being careful, and, and it was horrible and it was wonderful.
Well, in a way, I mean, that's something that's also happened is for the younger generation, having to be more careful may have been a benefit in sort of slowing things down, that you maybe got more out of things and spent more time talking to people.
Well, yes, I in a way, yeah, because when I got there, we still didn't really know how it was transmitted, and so there was just this fear in a lot of people. But some people didn't have that fear, and some people just went about their business. And some of them are not here, but some of them are,
Right.
So we all had, I think, varying levels of this,
and then some caught on early and said, I think I'm going to go with the condoms. It sounds like it's that.
That's kind of what I did. Yeah. So yeah, that was it. But even so, I still was, I would have liked to have been sluttier when I first moved to New York. Would have been nice, but I was still very scared and very careful, and it was odd.
In reading your book, you sound like almost a little shy, and trying to like come out as an actor and as a gay person, going, well, I'd really like to be wild, both wild on stage and then like wild sexually, but.
Well, also though, and I talk about this a lot in the book, and it's something that I've struggled with my whole life. I was also kind of going after the guys that didn't want me, like that I thought didn't want me, and I would go after them. The really gorgeous, um, the ones with I love the kind of black Irishy, dark hair, kind of hairy chest mustache. That's what I would go after. And I was this like skinny guy with a big nose and a fro. And so there was a lot of disappointment, but I was not opening myself up to people who were just like great, you know. I was totally on looks and you know and then constantly getting, knocked down and disappointed.
And I
So
think that's the thing that you talk about a lot in the book that I found fascinating was that the obsession with looks, with appearance, with age, with
and
perfect
body.
body. Yeah, having the perfect body and the perfect face and being the right age in the gay community. And I don't think people realize it, but for me as a woman, it's absolutely terribly familiar to straight women that the entire dating scene is, well, how good do you look and how thin are you and how young are you, and guys, straight guys going after the impossibly gorgeous tens of the women, and women going after the gorgeous guy, but well, no, you're not really in that category, you're out of your league. Well, and the idea that someone after 30, well, if you're in Hollywood and a woman after 30, and certainly after 40 or 50, you're not sexy. This is highly likely to be sexy.
Well,
Um,
conventional wisdom, you're saying.
right. And this is certainly something for women that's not, you're not supposed to be embracing your sexuality after a certain age, and you're constantly, and it being judged on looks and age and everything. And this is something that has happened quite often in the gay community, that this terrible thinking has unfortunately gone. I was like, what? We straight people screwed that up. Please don't adopt that particular trait. Um, we don't like it over here. Yeah.
Gay marriage and physical exclusivity. Yeah.
Now and now you've got gay men saying, "Oh well, I'm 40, so no one will go out with me." Wait, what? And you attack that full on in your book. You're like, yeah, no.
You're just not looking hard enough. And I think, a lot of guys, I won't I hate to generalize, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to generalize. A lot of guys my age like younger guys. The interesting thing is now, especially, a lot of younger guys like older guys. So if you're 40 something years old and you think you're done, or you're 50, or I'm not going to ever meet anybody, you are so wrong. You are just wrong. You've got to open your eyes. Maybe there's not a 25-year-old for you, but there might be a 45-year-old for you, a 50. Like, run the gamut a little more than just this exclusive. Well, that's my type. Oh, I get having a type. I do. I still kind of have a type, but they're not the only people that I would speak to or engage with or try to connect with.
It's just the thing of times like, well, for straight men, it's like, so the only women you'll date have to be 5'11" and blonde. I mean, what happens if you meet a redhead? I mean, it gets.
No,
And
no, no, no.
no, and I know women tell, well, like, he needs to be tall, he needs to be this, he needs to be that, and I'm like, that's what you're worried about, with all the other things you could be thinking of. And it often is the person that you don't think is your type, just dramatically. You wind up meeting someone, go, they're normally not my type. And then suddenly, oh, wait, that's the person I fall madly in love with. You don't know. And these
Right.
kind of superficial criteria, it's often a trap.
And of course, in the book, I talk about that relationship where I do meet someone exactly like that was not normally my type. And for once, finally, I engaged in what was supposed to be an adult relationship and ends up being a crap show. Um,
It's
but
going wrong.
but it taught me a lot about opening myself up to the unexpected, to me, to give people a chance beyond just what's on their surface. And being an escort certainly helped that because
Right.
I
And this is a crazy thing in the book. Just when you think you can't get any wilder with the musicals and the naked people and the thing and writing songs about porn stars and musical comedy horror, you talk in the book about, like, well, right, I have fantasies about being porn stars. Well, I think maybe I'd like to be, an escort and have sex with people I don't know, and I could pick up money. This could be a thing. And it's the way you talk about it, matter of factly, that you decided to do this. I realized that a lot of people are surprised to find out how many people they know have actually done some form of sex work,
yeah.
whether it was photos, whether it was now like with the cam girl thing, whether it's that. Sometimes it comes out of a negative situation. I mean, I certainly met people that said, I was starving, I was on drugs, so I exchanged sex for money.
Yeah.
Then I've met people where they said, I was going through this thing in my life and I decided I needed to do this. And it happens. And you're probably, everyone would be very surprised to find out how many of their friends have actually done this.
Yeah, at the time, I actually knew a couple of people. And I didn't talk to them about it, about my kind of wanting to do it, because I just thought like, oh, they're going to be like, what are you like? Were you molested as a kid? Are you on drugs? I was like, no, none of that. It was something that I felt I needed. Yes, there was kind of a seeking of validation out. Am I the kind of guy someone would pay money to have sex with? There was definitely that. It wasn't just about I needed the money, even though I needed the money. I was working off Broadway in a show and not making enough money. And I didn't want to wait tables anymore. But I found that from the time that I thought I wanted to do it as a let me see if I can make the grade to when I actually started doing it, I loved it because it used so much of who I am, not just sexually, because there was that I enjoyed very much, but my caretaking, my sense of humor, my ability to connect with people, and I felt like I was really making people feel good. Some people, like one guy's wife had died recently, and he just needed some comfort, and they were all everybody had a different story. So it wasn't just about show up, do the deed, get the money, and go. It was not that. Yeah, that would happen every so often. But for the most part, everybody had a story, you
Well,
know?
sex work can be kind of like, am I the psychologist? What is happening here? That's,
Totally, totally. And if I wasn't going to be an actor, I was going to be a shrink. So when I had my interview to be an escort with an actual interview, one of the things that he said was that, it's not going to be about just, a bunch of pretty people and having like wild, wonderful sex with them. It's not going to be that. You're going to find guys that that you wouldn't necessarily be attracted to outside. And some of them are going to have issues and some of them are going to be like really quiet and you're going to have to, but whatever it is, it's your job to make them feel good. And I thought, I think I can do that. And I
there
did.
is a psychological component where it is you're being a therapist. And there's a lot of different issues involved. Obviously, for women versus men, there's a different power balance and straight men and what have you. But there are people, depending on their situation, where they do have agency in it, where, yeah, it's a thing they want to do. And as you said, it wasn't so much a trauma thing. It was like, well, yes, is there a self-esteem issue? I want to see if I could, to see if you could, to see if people liked you. But there are people doing that. There are people who, as I said, nude photography, nude modeling. They're going, this is the thing I felt I needed to do. I just needed to do this. And
Well,
as I
as far
said,
as
it's
the
more
modeling
common than people think.
as far as the modeling goes, I think I even say this in the book. I would encourage everyone to take pictures naked. I would. It is such a freeing feeling. You don't have to put them out there. You can delete them the moment you shoot them. But there's something about that experience, about letting go of the veil and the shame and saying like, well, I don't like my body, or I no, I don't. Well, nobody's going to see it except you, or if you have somebody take the pictures for you, whatever. But there is something so freeing about standing in front of a camera and just going, this is who I am. I mean, I've
Wow.
shot guys besides me posing. I have shot a couple of guys, and it makes them feel great. I send them the photos, and they use them however they want to. Sometimes they just, I just wanted to do it.
Well, it's interesting because I got to talk to the famous Betty Page pinup model
Oh
before she died.
wow,
A marvelous woman. Big fan of Little House on the Prairie. Hello, good figure. So
excellent.
she was lovely. And one of the things she talked about, there was one biography of her that she actually said, okay, I authorize that. That's the right story. And one thing she talked about was that when she was young and she was getting so-called straight jobs, she had to try to support her sister. They'd left home. The home they lived in was not good at all. They like got away from their dad. She was taking care of her sister. She worked in department stores and she worked at offices. She was very smart. But this was, wow, the 50s. It was awful. The level of sexual harassment for a woman her age and a
Sure.
nice looking young girl in the 50s. She's every office job. She was getting chased around the desk in every department store. The guy's hassling her. So then she met this guy, says, do you want to just pose for some pictures? And there was a lot of stuff that wasn't even nude. There was the bikini stuff and whatnot. And then she did some nude ones. Well, the guy's wife was there. And he was such a gentleman. He's completely all business. And she started working with photographers. And she said, Most of the photographers I worked with were absolutely 100% all business, did not hit on me, did not harass me, were not mashers. The wife was there. They were all straight up. We were done shooting the photos. We got dressed. We went to dinner. She said, all the wholesome, straight, moral jobs I had, some guy was trying to have sex with me and trying to assault me while I'm working in the department store or the office. And I was constantly sexually harassed. But when I took off my clothes and took the pictures, everybody was really polite. Nobody sexually harassed me. What the heck is going on?
Well, that's
And so
interesting you say
she
that.
said, I'm going to go do this.
That's a great story. And one of the things that I found, I talk a little bit about this in the book too, is I've been in situations where I have been naked or not wearing a lot, and people have been clothed watching me, or sometimes with a photographer who's clothed.
That's going to be weird.
It's power. It feels so powerful. For me, it's like, because I'm like, for anybody who's sitting out there who may have any kind of hangups about their body, I'm the one here going like, I don't have hangups about my body. So, so there is a kind of powerful feeling in that,
Yeah,
and
they tell us to imagine. They say if you're nervous, imagine the audience you're speaking to all being naked, but you did it the other way around. You were naked and they were clothed.
right. And I even say something about that, because that whole adage about imagine everybody naked, I'm like, as if being in their underwear, as if being in their underwear is embarrassing or something. So I don't ascribe to that at all. Like, why should that make me feel better because they're in their underwear? That's not embarrassing to me. I'd be like, great, I wish I could get in my underwear too.
Well, that's what the Betty Pages thing. She said, "Well, I was never taught that my body was sinful or dirty." And she was quite a religious woman. She did attended church, and she just said, "No, but the human body's not sinful." And when she basically retired, she was not really making a lot of money. She was like in Social Security, but she didn't drink or smoke, and she made all her own clothes and was like a vegetarian. So she said, "I don't need much money." And then finally, a relative stepped in and said, "Do you know about these books and greeting cards and what?" And they wound up calling a lawyer and getting a licensing agreement. She got a bit of cash. She did finally
Oh,
get.
how smart.
Oh, she did. She
But
finally did get
again,
paid for that, and she was living in a lovely condominium in her old age and did
that,
quite well.
it could go
Worked
either way.
out.
She could have gone to the, oh, I'm embarrassed and I'm going to fight it, or the ownership of it.
Oh
If you,
yeah.
that kind of thing, I talk about that in the book too, that when you own up to your history, to your, nobody can harm you. I
That's
talk
the
about.
thing. See, Betty was, I said she was the last free person on earth because, and she said she didn't want to pose for pictures or even do an interview or be seen after she crossed over, retired, as it were. And she would say, "Oh, no, you just want to see the pictures of that lovely young girl. So go look at the pictures." She also said, "Why is everyone excited? These are like old black and white pictures, and I'm not even like naked and stuff. This is what people are into." Um, and she was sort of astounded that people cared. But
I love that. I
she
love that she had that ownership
she
of
was
it.
not ashamed of it. She said, "No, I took this. I'm not ashamed. These are lovely pictures. I don't know what all the fuss is about. You guys are all you." She said, "You're the ones looking at pictures from 50 years ago, not me. Don't look at me, buddy." And she
Yeah,
she thought
you're
it was
looking.
cool. Yeah. But she wouldn't do interviews, and they would bug her. They would say, we'll pay you all this money to appear on this." "That's okay. I have enough money." We'll threaten you. What are you going to threaten me with? You're going to blackmail me with what? You're going to show people naked pictures?
Well, look, she did it her way. I talk about Vanessa Williams in the book, and how she lost her crown because of stuff, but because of the nude photos in Forum. But she did not go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't have done it. It's gross. I was just a stupid kid." And she didn't say any of that. She did say that kids do stupid things sometimes, but she didn't put it in the sense. It was more about not getting not signing them. They just used them, and she said she didn't sign for them, but she never thought it was morally wrong. She never said I'm sorry. She never apologized, and
Well, you
that's
could
why she
also
went on a
you can
career.
also beg the question of, wait, they fired her from a contest that was about having women put on swimsuits and walk around in high heels
Do not
because
get
she
me
took off
started.
too many clothes in a picture. So no, you did the picture, so the nude, so we can't have you wear the bathing suit and the high. Hmm.
Yes, well,
Hmm.
that's their line. They drew that line, but somebody else would draw a different line. Where is the line?
Yeah, where's the line? Where's the line?
And who's right? Whose line is the right line? I mean, it's just so stupid.
And then what you've done is you said in the book, where you said, "Damn shame." when you start doing this and you did the escort work and you freely talk about that, and then you had a show, you did a one-man show. I love one-person shows. I had my Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. You had musical comedy whore, which is not as dirty as it sounds, but it's
Well, on Amazon, when we filmed it, we got a distribution deal, and it was going to be sold as DVDs, but also streaming on Amazon. And the day before it was supposed to drop, my producers got a message saying we have to change the title because it's not appropriate for a streaming service that families can watch. So my friend Steve said to me, "Oh, they really didn't like the words musical comedy, did they?" And that made me laugh. But so we had to change the title. We had to get rid of the horror thing, and we tried like musical comedy escort, musical comedy hustler, musical. We ended up going with musical comedy stud, which is not my favorite title. But if you want to stream it on Amazon, that's what you got to look for. But if you want to buy a DVD, it's musical comedy whore. How confusing is that?
do they stream Dolly Parton and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
That's a very good question. But there was a movie with Teresa Russell called Horror, but I
Yes,
don't know that it's streamed. I know it's available. I just don't know that it streams. I think after a while, I was like, we're not going to win this because you're not dealing with people. You're dealing with like bots, you know?
algorithms. Yeah, that's a whole thing with the
Yeah.
internet now. When my fabulous publicist Harlan would send out things about my book and about my one-woman show, he had to put different things in the title line of the email. He had to like do the asterisks because various press outlets had things that would automatically send it to spam because it said bitch.
We are just the conveyors, the purveyors of dirty titles. You and I. What can I say?
And as I always say, I started the thing Prairie Bitch. That's what people called me. It wasn't my idea. People came up and calling me a bitch to my face. As my defense was the show. So as I said, you do all these marvelous things where this whole anti-ageism, pro body image, pro sexuality, where you have these pictures, and yes, you're very cool, very fit, who clearly are lifting the occasional weight, but you're not 25. And you're taking pictures with the shirt off and in the underwear and in the bathing trunks and with the suit open, looking like a hot guy. And how old are you?
Well, I'm 63 right now. Yep. And
I just turned 60. I just turned 60 last
week.
Oh,
excellent. You look fantastic.
You're not.
You do. I started posing like back in 1989. I did a couple of things, and then over the years a few things, but it really kind of kicked in like 2000, early 2000. So really almost for 20 years I've been, since I was like early 40s is when my kind of modeling work started to really pick up. And when I started working with photographers, I was not some photographer's cup of tea because I was too old. But then there were other people who were like, I love that you're an older guy and that you're in great shape. Let's work. And so over the years, I've worked with many photographers, some really great artists, and some people who were kind of newbies at it. So, the photos may not have been great, but, you can usually, especially now with like the photo apps on computers, you can kind of make things, even like crappy photos, look pretty good. But I continue to do it because I was just finding that it was such a great kind of an artistic outlet for me. Yes, there was, I'm naked in a lot of them. I am aroused in a lot of them. That's part of it. And that to me, to be able to express myself that way, the little boy in me is just like, good for you. You've always wanted to do this.
Good for you.
Yes, you've always wanted to do this. You've always wanted to put that out there, to take the ick out of it, to take the shame out of it, And so that's what I'm doing now. And I know it's not for everybody, and I totally get that. And I respect that. Then you need to respect me doing it, because I don't judge you if it's not your thing.
I think that that's marvelous because so many people have said, straight people, women believe after a certain age, well, my sexuality goes on the shelf or set aside. I'm gonna knit and hang out with the grandkids or something, and that I'm not sexy. You might older people say, well, I might find another person for companionship. And it's like, what is this, 1927? What? We don't think of that. And in our parents' generation, now, of course, my parents, they were theater people and lived in Hollywood, so yeah, they were still going for.
They were savvy.
They were still like, I'm 60 and hot. So they were doing, but most of our parents' generation, when they got to be hell in their 50s, let alone their 60s or 70s and in their 40s, well, we don't think of ourselves that way anymore. They would just kind of kick back and put on the baggy clothes and go, well, I don't worry about being attractive, or if that's what they got to be. But in
Which is
real
great
life, they
if you're
might.
happy.
But often, that's the thing is, often they weren't. Often they felt bad and felt low
Yeah.
self-esteem. Well, I'm just not attractive, and no one's ever going to love me again because it's all about how I look and youth. And people take it hard, or they put their sexuality aside. And say, well, I can't really explore my sexuality. That's crazy. That's not a thing I do at my age.
Yeah.
And here you're saying there's not an age limit. If you feel that way, if it's a thing that was like, yes, I would like to, you can. You're not cut off at 50 from being sexual or exploring that or showing it to people.
No, it's what I learned when I posting photos on Tumblr originally was that I kind of got put into like the daddy group, and but then I saw that there were so many that they were getting blogged onto other people's blogs, and then I'd find out that there were like guys who like an older guy, an older Jewishy looking guy, guys, younger guys like certain things, if you have a beard, there is something for everybody.
I think there's somebody out there who likes something like everyone. I mean, I think there's people out there who like older ladies. I think there's people out there who like people
Totally.
heavier, thinner. I mean, good Lord, there's certainly enough people on the internet talking about feet.
Oh my God.
There
Yeah, that
must
was
be
something that
like
I discovered kind of early on, that I would get messages saying like, you have really lovely feet. And I'm like, I actually don't, but thank you.
the feet people are out there. I there was a couple of pictures of me on the red carpet and I was wearing sandals and had a great pedicure. I heard from the feet people. Oh yeah.
I love that because, I used to kind of think, ugh, that's so gross and whatever. But now I kind of go like, I kind of get it. I mean, and I've explored my own thing with feet a little bit too. And is it my number one thing? No, it's not, but I totally get it. And so all the things that I kind of judged as I was growing up, going like, ew, or I would never do that. Guess what? I have, and some things I like, some things I don't. But I've learned these fetishes instead of going like, because some people are just so, if it's not like missionary position, they're out of it.
Well, I
And
mean, the feet thing's not my thing, but I'm glad I didn't waste that money on the pedicure. I guess I got
see,
my nickel's worth.
and
So
that made it
I
even
enjoyed that
nicer for
pedicure.
them. Yeah, but there's all kinds of things that to explore, like, and nobody should be bored sexually because there are so many things to explore if you're willing to kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Stay safe. You can still say stay safe,
Absolutely.
but God, there's so many options now for any kind of toy you want to play with, any kind of person you might be interested in, or I mean, there's almost no excuse except for your own sense of self-esteem and holding yourself back and saying, if you say it at 50, I'm done, nobody wants me. If you say that, then you are. So you have to go beyond that and say, maybe I feel like I'm done, but I don't like this feeling, and I want to explore what's out there. So let me see what's out there, and because there is that's the thing I can say for sure, that there is someone out there for you. There is something out there for you, so you don't have to feel crappy about yourself.
Well, the old expression is a pot forever, a lid for every pot.
For every pot, there certainly is.
And
Yeah,
now Madonna is 60 something.
she's my age,
And
and she's
she's got
63.
she's got the Instagram account, and girl, she's hanging it out like she's just hanging everything out all day long on her Instagram.
Yes, and I've read, the good and bad of it. I've read, she needs to put it away, and she's not, Madge anymore. She's this, that, the other thing. I'm like, you know what? I hope she's happy, because if she's doing it and she's happy, then that's all that counts.
And it looks like some of that is because some of it, I mean, some of it's like, that outfit's a little extra. I didn't think I'd wear that one. But some of it, it's like, well, it is. It's like, who's it for? She's already selling the album. She's already got the money. There's enough money. She's sitting on a pile of
Truly.
money. She could quit. She could go home. So clearly at this point, this is how I've decided to show my body at this age. This is my thing. And some of the pictures, because there's so many of them, is like, she's doing this for herself.
Good for her. Madonna will always be like, I remember seeing Truth or Dare, and I remember after the film going like, she seems kind of horrible as a person, and kind of insufferable in certain things, but then she would get, there were moments where she was very vulnerable and stuff, and her toughness and her work ethic. And I, after that movie, I remember saying to myself, walking out of the theater and going, I need to be a little bit more like Madonna.
Right. And the work ethic, and then what the bazillions of dollars she's raised to help people living with HIV and AIDS. So it's like, okay, she's got the heart's in the right place. And yes, people are kind of going, wait, what? Because I think it is mind blowing, because when we look at other blonde pop stars the era like Britney Spears and everyone else, it's absolutely focused on being super super young,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was like, yes, sexy, more sexy, take it off. And now here she is 63 and she's taking everything off. People are like, no, no, wait, no, we didn't mean that. And it's
Well,
like,
but
oh, you wanted me to take my clothes off 5 minutes ago, but oh, now you don't.
well, you know, right now the pop stars have gotten younger, you know, than back then. You know, it's funny when you watch things like, you know, Night of 100 Stars, and you know, back then it would have like, you know, James Stewart, and you know, and now it would be all kids, you know. I mean, because
Right.
there's all these young kids, and you know, more power to them and everybody having a career. But Madonna was there first, you know. You know, she earned the right because she opened up a lot of people's eyes about sexuality and nudity, and expressing herself from someone who maybe didn't have the greatest voice in the world, but she had some great songs, you know, early on that I loved. And she was, I was actually at the University of Michigan the year she was there, and we had some mutual friends.
Wow.
And it's, in the book I say that she still owes a friend of mine $50.
But
She
didn't you say
does.
I went to school with Madonna? Okay.
And she borrowed 50. Yeah, so I never met her, but she was in the dance department and she
Right. Well,
always
of course.
danced, you know. So you know, whether somebody's your cup of tea or not, you can still kind of respect what they do. And I think a lot of people think that she's gone, you know, that she needs to rail it in, but that's not Madonna. That's not what
That's
she
not
does.
her. I mean, it's like, well, what did you think she was going to wear? What she'd been wearing her whole life? What did you think she was going to wear? A nightie? I
And look, I wouldn't be surprised if one day she does wake up and shows up on the red carpet and she's wearing a nightie, or she's wearing, you know, a gown. Like, you know, she's she does whatever the hell she wants to do, and I have so much respect for that, you know,
and I think
because she is
it's
opening herself up to being judged.
right. But there you go. But I mean, if she's putting it on Instagram, then she knows perfectly well everyone's looking at it. So
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the choices that I've made in my life about being an escort, about writing naked boys singing, about my erotic modeling, and I do videos as well. I know that I've opened myself up as a semi-public person because I do have a mainstream acting career. I know I've opened myself up to people criticizing me and telling me what a whore I am, and how stupid I am for ruining my career and this and that, the other. But this desire to express myself this way and take the ick out of it so that it isn't something that kills a career, or that I should be, you know, vilified for, is too important for me. So I've decided to walk the walk and bring it, you know, bring it on. I have something to say about everything you have to say. So
I'm loving this. And then you also, but you also are a personal organizer.
I am, and I love
That's
it.
like, and then he puts his pants on and says, "Do something about these shelves." Wait, what?
Believe me, there have been situations when I've been like working with a photographer and we've just shot like naked shots and everything, that I do put my clothes and I'm like, tell me about that closet. You know, and there's a filmmaker that I work with all the time, and after we shot some erotic videos, I helped him organize his closet
That's hilarious.
just for fun, because it is fun to me, because I have that. My mom was the most organized person in the world, so I come at it, you know, very honestly. And there's something very satisfying. It's another side of my brain that I love. I'm a very, it's like, spatial person. Like, I'm, you know, Tetris was the only video game I ever liked. And so, you know, an organizing gig is like a big game of Tetris, and it's really fun to me. And I try to make it really positive and make people's lives better. It's a great feeling. It really is.
This is amazing. And as I said, there's got to be people, whether they're gay or straight, whether they think, oh, I couldn't do that. I don't believe in porn. I don't believe in escorting, but would look at just even the pictures where you got your tie undone and go, you know, this guy's how old but he's running around doing this, and I'm only the. Well, maybe I could at least be sexy. Maybe I could go out again. Maybe I could be attractive. This guy is older than I am, and he didn't care at all. So
I get a
I think
lot of
that's
messages
inspiring.
like that. I get a lot of messages on Twitter and on my OnlyFans page where they say that. They say, I feel like I'm an old guy, but I'm younger than you, and so I need to stop thinking about myself that way. I'm not, look, I'm not telling everybody to put their privates on the internet. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying to kind of like get the icky out of your head, feel better about yourself, start with what you have, and don't dream like, unless I lose 20 pounds, I'm gonna. No.
You
Today,
in the
start
book at
today.
one point you have a conversation, talk about a conversation with a younger gay guy. It's like, oh no, once you get to that age, it's all over, and you give him what for?
Well, yeah, I mean, are you talking about the very first, almost the first page of the book?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if we can talk about what he brought up at the conversation.
Oh, that's true. Is that oh yes, if you're old, that you would have to agree to all manner of extreme kink, or no one would have anything to do with
Exactly,
you. Was like
involving
that's the politest
fluids.
way I could say it.
Yes. And then but the upshot is like, look, I felt very kind of paternal towards him, because he was like, ugh, I'm gonna have to start doing that when I'm 40. I'm like, well, I'm 50. First of all, and secondly, I just said to him, you never have to do, really paternal. I was like, you never have to do anything you don't want to do. Remember that, okay? This, you're always in power when it comes to this kind of thing. It's your choice. I said, but you might like it. And he was kind of like, yeah, he
Well,
was
because
not happy.
he was dissing anybody over 40. He was dissing anyone who was kinky in a way he was, and he was going, oh, God, you're going, you know, maybe, there's people who like that.
Well, as I say in the book, the look on his face was if I just shot a puppy. He was like,
Or, but it's just, I love that you are fighting the ageism and the sexism and the bad body image. It's like, it's so amazing. It's because there's so much of that now. I think things are changing. I think we hear more of the young people saying, what are you, fat shaming? What get it? And it's funny because it's coming from the really young people going, well, how dare you say Madonna shouldn't tell you? Well, what are you saying that they're saying it's as bad as racism or anything else, and they're speaking up? And I'm like, great.
well, I'll tell you something. I wrote a song that was meant to be kind of like for a heavy set woman or man to sing, that they're still sexy and that they're funny and that there's things, and they ownership. It's a song about owning your body and owning your personality. And there was a young woman that I had asked if she wanted to sing the song, and she listened to it. She said, David, she said, I can't sing this. I just don't want anymore to kind of put forward that funny and fat thing. I feel like your song does that. And I kind of fought her on it. And I was like, no, but that wasn't my intention. And whatever. And she goes, well, I just, good luck with it. But this, I can't do it. And you know what? She was absolutely right. It was kind of as a kind of like a guy who kind of takes care of himself. I was like, no, you're heavy set, but you're funny. And it was more about there's a song in When Pigs Fly called Bigger is Better. And it's about like, a big, beautiful showgirl who's not your typical showgirl. And that was great for the show. The song I wrote, I wanted it to kind of feel like that, but I kind of not ignored what she was saying, but I was kind of like, no, it's my song. I wrote it with good intentions, whatever. But I should have listened to her more, And so I don't peddle that song anymore, or maybe I'll kind of fix it or whatever.
Right,
But
because it was her experience, and maybe someone could come to you and say, "Well, this is what it really feels like," and you might go, "Oh, well, let me write another verse."
right, I think back. I don't know why I'm bringing that. It's kind of what we're talking about, but I feel like I kind of disrespected her by challenging her by saying you shouldn't feel that way,
But see,
and
that's the thing. You're all about like, look, feel how you feel. Don't have anybody make you do anything you don't want to do.
right.
Feel what you actually feel. Be who you actually are. And if you feel like you want to like be yourself and hang it out there, hang it out there.
And if you don't, that's great, and I totally understand. But don't go criticizing the person who has the guts to do it because they feel like it. Not to say, and I'm not calling them calling them cowards for not doing it if that's not your thing. But sometimes that person who wants to go like this inside kind of wants to go like this, but they just don't have it yet. They're not brave enough. And I was not brave enough early on to own all of this. Like, why are you doing it now? Because I wasn't brave enough back then.
You were the kid who was afraid to take his shirt off in gym.
Yep. Truly. And then I was a guy who was starting a TV career and a film career and thinking, oh, it's going to ruin it if I do it, you know? So it was just not the time until now. Now is the time I can do it with full ownership, with, you know, to be my fully authentic self, no secrets. Nobody's going to blackmail me. You know, it's all out there. Here, you know, here it
That's
is.
what I've always said.
Right
Avoid
here.
blackmail. Tell everybody everything.
Exactly.
Shockingly, we're running out of time. So, where do we get the book? Where do we find you? Where do we see the pictures? The semi-naughty, the very naughty. Where do we find you? And if I need my house reorganized, which I probably do, how do we find you?
Okay, well, the book you can get, you know, on Amazon and anywhere you get your books. There's also a link tree, David Pevsner, that has a list of where, but pretty much just Google the book. You can find it anywhere. I'm on Twitter. I have two Twitter feeds, David Pevsner, which is my kind of like more mainstream actor one, and Real Guy LA, which is my more provocative one. And then I have my OnlyFans page, which is definitely my provocative one, and that's Real Guy LA also. I'm on Instagram, dpevs, DPEVS. If you know you want me to organize your house, message me there. And you know, but you know, I'm kind of all over the internet. And if you want to see the photos, if you know, they're in the book. But if you Google my name and XXX, zillions of photos will come up, and gladly enjoy them. I hope you like them.
Smoke will come out of your computer. Google this.
Woo! No, I'm
fabulous.
proud.
Like I said, I find you very inspiring. This is marvelous. I enjoyed your book, and I found it quite inspiring for a lot of in many different ways.
Well, thank you. And this was great fun. I mean, you're so good at this. You're just so good at this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know. I could sit here and go, I'm not wearing any pants. No.
Well, I'm not even going to show you what's going on down there right now. But I was working out before this, and I'm going to go back to it. So
right,
I like my tights.
The people watching, for all they know, neither of us could be wearing pants during this interview. You'll never know. So there you are.
Unless the computer like slips. Oh,
so thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. This is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim.
Thank you.